talented. And with that said, we're going to get started. So my name is Kamau. I'll be the host. I have two colleagues with me, two colleagues and people I consider friends that I've known since pretty much I got started in education. And those stories will probably come around one way or another. But yeah, I've been doing this for more than 20 years, as these two fine people have. And we've got some good stories, good anecdotes, some good tips, and some good things to share. So I'd like to introduce proudly my two colleagues, Miss Paula Bethea and Mr. Wayne Dennis. So Paula, introduce yourself, and then Wayne can come in after you.
Hello, everyone. As Mr. Kamau shared, my name is Paula Bethea. I'm currently a principal in Trenton, New Jersey. I've been in education with Kamau, actually. We both started at a charter school, one of the first charter schools in Trenton. I started that in 1998. I was a teacher, reading coach. We were with a private company then, so I actually was a trainer for that reading program we were using at the time. So I traveled a lot, which is unprecedented in education, to be able to travel and present and meet other people. But fast forward, these two gentlemen, then one left to go. One was already in Trenton and the other one was on the way. And we were at a birthday party. And Mr. Dennis said, "Why don't you come to Trenton?" I was like, "Sure." So I remember sitting with Kamau and we were going over the benefits together. And I think Kamau went and then I went and we were all together at Jefferson. And everything they did, I followed. I was a little sister. So if they said they were doing leadership programs, I was like, I want to do that. If they were doing another program with the then superintendent, James Lytle, great guy that gave us all a chance.
Shout out to Torch.
I always give him a shout out. I say, I want to do that. So fast forward, I became a reading coach in the district, a vice principal in the district, and now I'm on my 11th year as a principal of the very school I attended as a child.
Excellent. All right. Excellent. Wow. All right, Wayne, you're up.
I don't know how to follow that up. I think she said everything.
let me help you out. I would say that you serve as the leader for the movement from Trenton into leadership. I'm gonna give you credit for that. Now go with it.
Yes.
All right. So I don't know. Let me see. Wayne Dennis. First I became. I was when I graduated from college. I wanted to do the hip hop business, right? So I started managing my wife at the time. I started managing her brothers her brother, but brothers in the hip hop industry. And I took a trip out to Chicago, and whenever we would go on road trips, we would always kind of go to different projects, different schools. But for some reason, when we was in Chicago this time, we visited a school and it was close to the Cabrini Green projects. And I was talking to a young man there, and during that conversation, he was so disconnected. And I remember saying something to Wise because we had talked about starting our own schools. And so in that conversation, we decided once I got back off the road that I was going to go into subbing. And so in some ways, that's how I kind of got into education. And then Mr. Marazzo, who was a wonderful principal at Rivera Elementary School, he gave me my first shot to become a teacher. And then when I became a teacher, I felt like there was more that needed to be done, and we needed to connect more with the youth, especially the Black youth. So I said, well, I want to start my own school. Here's an opportunity to go into leadership. So I went into leadership because of Mr. Marazzo, and hence we all was very fortunate at the time to have Torch Lytle. He knew that in order for the district to move, it needed leadership, but it needed Black leadership, whether it was male or female. He was very supportive in that way. Hence, why I got into leadership, met you guys, and the rest is history.
Yes, excellent. I'm gonna give a special shout out to someone we all know is definitely responsible for us getting into leadership the way we did, and that's shout out to
Richardson.
Honorable Harriet
Green Richardson. That's right.
Yes.
You remember those notes in your mailbox? See me.
It lends itself.
Yes, sir. And what Wayne is mentioning is that one of our mentors and supervisors just kind of pulled us through the ranks, and Paula alluded to this. She had a way of being that we lovingly make jokes because we kind of knew what the game was. We were going to help her do these things, and she was going to help us get to leadership. And it was always like work related, but we were like, you trying to sneak out the door to go do something, pick your kids up from school. And Miss Richardson was like, hey, you have 1 second. And I'm like, oh, man, here it comes.
It lends itself.
It lends itself to your career, my brother. You're going to get in here and do some of this work. So shout out
and
to
she
her.
just, I always pay homage to her. I was honored by her sorority a few years ago. A room of probably about 400 or 500 guests. I made sure I looked right at the table and made sure I acknowledged her. And of course, at her retirement party.
Yeah.
And then I just started thinking about all the greats that I got to work for in Trenton. Miss Richardson, Harriet Bass, Willie Solomon. I just had so many great mentors in education. Priscilla Dawson.
Yes. Maurice.
Mark Maurice.
Addie Lane. Can't get them.
So many people. Marzine Bennett. So many people. And then one thing, Mr. Solomon, he always had his Solomonisms, but one of them was our role as a leader is to create other leaders. That's our of course our role, of course, is the care and safety of our school buildings, but within the buildings, we can't do it by ourselves. Right. So if anyone became a leader under your leadership, I'm talking about you two guys, because I always pay homage to you two, and I'll never forget whence I came. So I have to mention anybody that molded all the pieces of them, molded me to who I am now as a leader.
Excellent. Yeah, and I shout out to you for staying stable, because me and Wayne just been out here. We've been out here just prostituting.
That's also a learning experience, because Priscilla also said, don't fall in love with a school. She always said that. And of course, I'm in love with my school. But you guys also took chances and took opportunities that you saw. Because I remember when Wayne shared with me the opportunity. Anytime Wayne had opportunity, he would share. We would both share.
No doubt.
And you and I, we all three came through the same thing. So don't look at, hopefully you guys don't look at it as you're just all over the place. You just know what your strengths are and what you can do. And you try to find that environment to do that.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
a lot of people don't take that risk in education anymore, because we want to get comfortable.
Yeah.
And we can't. Being comfortable is not helping you grow.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. It's interesting enough you say that, because.
But hold up, I don't want to cut you. Only
right.
I got some questions on here. I'm gonna ask.
Yeah,
don't let you get it out.
Yeah.
All right, good.
All right, so I'm gonna start just basically with everything that we're dealing with now, and start with COVID, right? So the first question I have for you guys is, how has COVID-19 just changed your daily responsibilities as a school principal? Just speak on it.
So I'll share. I know I've been talking a lot, but I knew, we had that year off, and, I've shared with you guys both what I went through health-wise at the same time. I may not have shared everything, but I went through a lot. So, but in the back of my mind is always the safety of our school. So when prior to COVID, our safety measures were, are people getting here safe? Are students safe when they get here? Are fights not happening? Are staff feeling that the administration supports them? Then now you add COVID. So now it's, the reporting and making sure that you're reporting it to the families, and making sure that you're reporting it so that family and staff know. So our roles have really, really adjusted greatly, where you're not just the manager, the academic leader stuff. Now you're sort of like a mini health officer.
Yeah.
And no one would have seen this prior to March 2020.
Yeah.
And I think for me, coming from me, in my role as the leader of a school, we had the safety piece down pat. We knew our scholars were safe coming to school. We knew our scholars were coming from quote unquote ready-made background, if that makes sense. They were coming from families that were doctors, lawyers, and so the safety of them coming. But what we were lacking was the technology piece of it. And so as a school, and Mr. Kamau, you were part of that movement, getting the teachers up to date on the integrating technology with Zoom, with Teams. And thank you so much for doing that workshop. That really helped us. So
that was,
for me, it was
Google.
more. Yeah, Google.
Right. That was Google Meet.
Yeah. So for me, it was more the technological piece of it, and then talking to my colleagues in Georgia, where we had. They say they had one-to-one, but they didn't realize one-to-one mean every scholar needed to have a Chromebook or an iPad, and it wasn't so. When they were English class, they had access to it. They needed access to it 24 hours. And so one of the things that we were fortunate enough to do, we were able to get access not only in school but out of school, because we found that a lot of students did not have access to Wi-Fi connection once they left school. And so I was a part of a committee that actually we put Wi-Fi connection at McDonald's on the buses and in the parking lots. And so I think for me it was more just the technological piece, just to make sure everybody was that the playing field was being leveled. And I think that's one thing the pandemic exposed was the inequities as far as the technological piece. And so I was sad about it, but happy about it at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, this is excellent. And just to frame this with a little more perspective, I should have done this sooner. So I'm currently in Philadelphia. Paula's in Jersey, in Trenton, New Jersey, and Wayne's in Atlanta, Georgia. So we all started in Trenton, and now we branched out. So the perspectives are interesting just to hear different approaches. My own quick COVID story, I had been hopping from school to school trying to find the best fit, as Paula mentioned, me taking those chances. But I landed at a school, and right before COVID hit, they were like, what do we do? And I was like, previously, I had just finished working at a cyber school. So I had 2+ years doing this online thing because I was trying to escape, one environment to the next. And now I'll change the world from this perspective, And so they're like, what do we do? And it was perfect timing because I'm like, oh, I just came from the cyber school. I could tell you everything you need. So that was helpful for me to make that adjustment. But you really learn all the things that people said you couldn't do using technology. It's funny how we're doing that now, right? We're able. It's funny how we can have whole weeks and months out of school and kids can still get credit for attendance. It's funny how we can say kids have to be in person, but then we're still giving them credit for doing things that they may not even be doing. And I don't know if that's good or bad. Honestly, I just know that we are making the exception. And I always throw this out there. I'm like, now that we know that we can learn online, like suspension should be a thing of the past. I don't know. Maybe y'all can figure it out and put it out there, but we shouldn't suspend kids anymore so long as they can learn from somewhere. So that has been my experience. All right, my next segment, next question, I call it OG to old me. And what I mean is now that we all OGs in this game, we've served as some of the most, and you've been around people, you realize the people that taught us, they were pretty damn sharp. Right? So when I see people now, I'm like, yo, what are y'all doing? Me and Wayne sometimes say that, yo, what are you doing?
That level. How we get to that level?
And so I'm proud to say, I feel like I really came through a school of people that were serious about, education and training. And so when I look at people now, I'm like, all right, we'll figure it out. But so my question for you all is what would you, knowing who you are now, your first year as a vice principal, what would you tell that person if you had the opportunity to have that conversation as they started off in their career, that first year principal? And go ahead, Wayne.
Patience, trust your gut, believe in your support system, and not just your superficial support system, but you guys were truly my support system. Paula, you remember when we first came principal, we used to talk on every 2 hours a day on my way home and on my way to school. And trust and Kamau, you were my tech go-to for everything. And what that support system enabled you to do is Willie Solomon, I'll never forget when I first took over PJ Hill, he said to me, I'm eclectic. And I was like, what you mean by that? And that means you're gonna pull from different people, right? And so just having those critical friends, those trusted friends that you could lean on and just trust that and go with that process, and everything will work itself out. You know, and I think that's what we gave each other. That's why we can go from state to state, city to city, and we're still leaders. We're still leaders. I came to Georgia. I'm still a principal. I'm still in charge of a school. And we could pick roles, but our roles that, interesting enough, we're picking are leadership roles, and people value our input and value what we have to say. So I think that's what I would just go back and tell myself, to just be patient and just basically trust the process. It's going to work out.
Right.
Okay, so we know he's a Sixers fan and a Philly fan with that trust the process.
I'm an Eagles fan. Let's be clear about that. No Sixers, no Flyers, just Philadelphia.
Yeah, I get the bird text from Wayne whenever they win. Okay, Wayne,
I know, and then you'll hear from him no more, right?
So just to piggyback off Wayne, I agree, definitely patience. I also, we often don't get a chance to go back to those grad school books that we had, but there's one book in particular. He's like the leader in just leadership. I think his name started with the S. I can't think of it now, last name. But he talks in one of his books about making decisions that either affect an individual or your whole school. So as a leader, through these years, and what they say is it's situational leadership. From the moment, sometimes you didn't even get out the car. Sometimes I get it. Well, obviously, you know, the pivot we had to do, just heard the other day that Trenton's going virtual for 2 weeks. Every situation, you just have to be ready. And if you don't know, don't tell people, don't kind of fluff around it like you do know. I'll get back to you, give your time to think, time to think. Sometimes some decisions are right away, and some decisions you have to, like you said, Wayne said, talk to your critical friends. The colleagues I have now, we are very open, you know, group checks and chats, and what are you doing for this? What are you doing for that? Because we're all at different stages in our leadership. Me being, I think I might be the one principal that's been at a school the longest in the district right now. So we all lean on each other, but that doesn't mean if I'm a first year principal that I can't learn from first year principals, because I do, or that from ones that's been at this, you know, 10, 11, you know, because everyone that came in with us, we're the OGs now. And a lot of people, you know, they call us and they ask us certain things, and it feels good, because I remember, you know, sometimes there was a time we could call on people, but there was a time we couldn't call on anybody.
That's true.
Because everyone would tell me that being a leader is a lonely world. I was like, I ain't lonely. I got Wayne, Kamau, you know what I'm saying? You know, Adrian, they're all still my good friends. So I refuse to say that it's lonely. I refuse to say that. So keep, like Wayne said, keep that balance between your work and your home. Eventually, in the beginning, you're gung-ho, you're in this job 24 hours, but it can drain you, and it could really make you pivot to someone else. So it's important to have that balance. As an upcoming leader. So those are some of the things that I would tell my former self, that going hard doesn't just mean I'm just going hard at work. I'm going hard at life. You know, going hard at life, because life gonna come hard at me, and I can't use every school decision. Sometimes Mike says, I'm not one of your kids in the school, you know, or somebody say, I'm not your husband, you know. So I have to learn to, you know, discern those two things at times. But you know, or my daughter, you know, we all have children, and you know, some things we see in schools, we just go home and we pray our kids don't get, you know, wrapped up in certain things. That's really our prayer for our own children. So it's a thankful job. It could be like I think I put today, it's hard work, but it's also heart work.
Nice,
but it's so funny it's so funny you said that, Paula. I used to have this phrase: it is the most thankless job I've ever had, but it's the most rewarding job I've ever had. And that's just real talk. You know, when I left the the Jewish school where kids were getting 1,300 and above on the SAT. That's just what they get, you know.
Right.
And somebody said, why would you leave that and go to this school? Because they need me.
Yeah.
They're not going to thank me, but in the end, I'm sure the reward of them, of African-American kids, imagine if I have a school where all Black kids get over 1,300 on the SAT. And what does that say? What message does that send to our community? So I feel like that's that tireless, thankless work that we're called to do. And then oftentimes I say it's a servant role. Leadership is a servant role. It's like all of us are in leadership role for a reason. And some of those reasons are beyond our own selfish needs and wants.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. I'm going to give mine and then start to accelerate toward the next question. So my one thing I would tell myself as a first year, and I remember where I was at Dunn Middle School, and it was chaos. I don't know if you remember all that gang stuff was going on. And shout out to Torch, because Wayne probably remember the story, how I found out I was going. He called me up and said, how's your Spanish? Or sent me an email. And said, how's your Spanish? And I was like, what? He's like, report to Dunn on Monday.
Right.
And it was Friday. Yeah, and it was Friday. He said report to Dunn on Monday. And if I could tell Jermaine Kamau something, then I'd say, man, look, don't take yourself too seriously. Don't be afraid to fail and mess up, because you're gonna have time to get it right sooner or later. Because I think I took a lot. When we're moving in fear, you know, and lack, it kind of limits what you can do. And I know for a fact that there were moments when I know I could have done a little more, but I was afraid not to look good because I had this title. And it really wasn't even about the title. It was about what am I doing? So I would tell myself, man, don't sweat that. Like, just get this thing done. So, all right. Now, the next one is a little controversial. I don't know if Paula can hear us because your thing popped up.
I can hear you. I'm sorry. I was putting my phone on do not disturb because I keep getting calls.
I'm just making sure you know.
I can hear you.
Okay. So the next one I had is a question, because I said, my name is my name. So people are, you know, you see a lot of these diploma mills and people get degrees. Everybody got PhD, ED, doctor this, doctor that. So my question is, why do you think some people outside of education, they don't respect an educator's PhD, ED, or whatever? Why doesn't it get the same respect as a medical doctor?
I'm not sure why. I know for me,
and that's if you agree. You may not even agree with that. You know?
Coming from a Jamaican family, one of the highest, you know, careers you can get to is being an educator, whether it's educator or doctor. I think if Wayne may disagree or agree, I think educator even probably trumps out a lot of things. And that's something I've known since a little girl. So when you hear, I know a lot of people being proud that, you know, at the time, Wayne and I, and maybe, I don't know, somebody else, were Caribbean people who grew up in the city. And we definitely didn't have letters by our name, but like I have parents that'll come that are of Jamaican descent and say, yeah, we heard the Jamaican principal works here, or things like that. So I used to be really caught up in that. And I actually applied and got accepted to a well-known PhD program. But then when I said, number one, do I want to get myself in this much debt again? Do I want to do this? Or do I just want to not that I would never do it, but just the life experiences and I've had. So I don't know if that's something just across the country or it depends on what level, because of course, Principal Kafele doesn't have that behind his name, right? Am I right?
I don't think so.
Shout out to Principal Kafele if you but we know he's one of the most revered educators in this. We have Pedro Negon. I believe he does have one, but we don't look at and say, I don't know if knows he's talking about whether he have a PhD or not. He knows his stuff, you know? So I think that's what it is in education. But I'm gonna shout you out again, Kamau, with the whole notion of having teachers put their college degrees on their doors outside of their rooms. We still do that at our school. And you set that precedence. And I say to whether it's staff members or parents on back to school night, I said, we do this because if you think of any leader in this country, any leader you respect or disrespect, be it Barack Obama or, you know, some other leader, everybody's had a good teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you go to the doctor's office, you look, the first thing you do, let me see if this dude really know what he's doing.
Yeah.
And you look up at that degree.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, Harvard, Yale. And now that, especially what I went through lately, I Googled the doctors that are seeing me.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, impressive.
Yeah.
So I think there's the big difference too. But even though doctors do things so your body can heal, we do things so your mind can heal. Right? So our children's minds can heal. So our staff minds can heal and think differently. So getting caught up in the PhD, whatever game, I respect everybody that's done it. You know, Dr. Heather Jackson, a lot of people that we really are loving the fact that they had PhDs before 30, 35.
Right. Wow,
for me, that's not a game changer for me. And maybe that's the thought for, you know, others. I don't know.
Okay.
But I think my take on it is all about practice. It's practice. And I think
just so you know, we got about like 6 minutes and some change left. So,
so this is practice. I remember when my ex was going through medical school, and Jackie, you know, we was talking about where she wants to go to school, and I remember she always used to say to me, when you go to the doctor's office, look to see who is board certified, because everybody could be, you know, could graduate from Harvard, but did they pass the board? And I think getting your PhD and coming from the Caribbean culture where we value education, we value learning. So you're not going to impress us by saying you have a PhD. What we're going to look at it and say, okay, you got a little bit more information, but I got same information through experience, because it's all about practice. So we don't put you on a higher pedestal because you have a PhD. What we do is we say you got a little bit more information, but because we value learning, we still respect you. And that's just the Jamaican culture. And even now I'm in Atlanta, and parents will come and they'll say, oh, you Jamaican? And it's a whole different conversation I start to have with them because of that. They're not concerned about my degree, just the fact that I'm a Jamaican, because there's an inherent belief that we value education. And so that's that's a quick point, Margie.
Yeah, thank you. No, thank you. Just keeping up, because I know Zoom will be like, do something. Because I'm using my account, I ain't using a school account. All right, on the hot topic side, pick one of these three and you can let me know if these are going on in your school, if you have any issues with. And the first is, are there issues with vaccinations, any issues with substitute teachers, or any issues with the TikTok challenges that have been happening, you know, like blow up a bathroom or whatever the other one was, you know? You familiar with these TikTok challenges that they had?
Yes.
Okay.
Very.
Yeah, very.
So pick one or two of those and
real
a quick story.
Real quick, I probably got issues with all three, but I'm also the principal that, as you know, I stay on TikTok, I stay on everything. So as soon as I hear something, I get on that mighty intercom and I have jokes.
You let them know.
So if you want to do a TikTok challenge, go ahead and do a TikTok challenge, because you will be doing the challenge from home. Like, I'll say stuff like that. Yeah. So the kids will go, and then they'll come downstairs and they'll say, you know, Miss Bethea, I know for a fact that so-and-so threatened to do the challenge. Like, they, you know, they tell me. And then I'll call the person down. I'll be like, you was planning on something? What you talking about? Da, 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 da. So I think
I ain't do nothing. I ain't even do nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll be gotten on social media.
With substitutes, we've been fortunate with substitutes that we have two really good ones. One that's a Trenton High, two that are Trenton High graduates that are very reliable. So we've been fortunate because we're a little smaller, but I can't say that about all my colleagues. But we just make it work. And I think that's, you know, like I said, situational leadership. We just make it work.
Okay. Any issues with the vaccine? Did you have any vaccine issues at the school?
So Trenton, if you don't know by now, their numbers are increasing again. My school is, along with 3 other schools, were vaccination hubs. So on Monday evenings, anyone, families, children could come and get their vaccines. I don't, you know, I'm not that level. You probably would have to talk more so with our supervisor of nurses, Micah, about that, which I'm pretty sure she would love to discuss with you. So I can't say, but I do know a large majority of my staff are vaccinated.
Okay.
Yeah. And I would say I have all 3, you know, so, you know, being in Georgia, obviously, we're one of the most conservative states. We're in the Bible Belt.
With the
actually,
until it's come to going outside and partying and twerking in the streets, y'all ain't really conservative.
Yeah. Look. We don't believe in a mask mandate. We don't want no mask. We don't want any of that stuff. We don't want no vaccine. Our governor has made it very clear. I don't think Georgia has ever really shut down. But when it comes to the Tic Tac challenge, I agree with Paula. You know, you stay connected. Stay connected. And I would say that to any administrator, stay connected. Get on these social media platforms. You don't have to be the expert, because I'm not, but I'm on them. And I would have students come to me, and I always make the joke with them. I be got no social media, like I be got no weapon. I be got no social media. I'm not on TikTok. Yes, you are. Yes, that did happen. But yeah, the substitute did hit us. Us being a small school. Yes, it did. And having teachers leaving. And in Georgia, they were giving people bonuses, $1,500, $2,000. So you will literally have someone commit to you today, and tomorrow they'll be gone, because Georgia is at at will work state. So basically, there's no really unions here. So teachers could come and they could leave. They give you 2 weeks. If you're lucky, if they give you 2 weeks, and there's really not too much you could do to hold on to them. So that poses a unique challenge for us, unlike New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, where you have unions. We don't have that down here yet. And I think that the vaccination piece, I would say 90% of my teachers are vaccinated and fully vaccinated. And a lot of my scholars are vaccinated, or they're in the process of becoming vaccinated. Like none of my scholars can return to school next week without actually having a negative COVID test. So I've been getting emails from parents. The good thing about it is they do have access to home testing, and we are accepting those as well. So so it's been kind of interesting. We are going to be face to face. Again, we're in Georgia. We don't believe in.
And let me have to cut you. I'm gonna cut you. We got 1 minute, less than a minute left, and I want you both to answer this question. This last question.
Okay.
And it's a fill in the blank. If someone said blank to me, I quit my job today.
If someone told me I can't help kids anymore.
Someone told you? If someone said, Wayne, you can't help kids anymore, then you would quit? Is that what you're saying?
In this role. Yes, in this role. I quit.
And Paul?
If someone said to me, this is just hopeless.
You would quit?
Or improve it. Not just say, because people say it all the time.
Yeah, that's true. I agree.
But I wouldn't stop helping others. I would not stop helping others in some capacity.
Okay, excellent. Well, I want to thank you both. This has been wonderful. It's going to probably cut us off, so I'm going to have to play around with it. If and when it does shut us off, I'm going to call you on FaceTime so we can kind of go through what you thought went well.